We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Monday morning edition of the POMcast. I am, of course, your host, Stephen Willis, at Stephen Willis on Twitter, by the way. Right here for you. We have a nice show for you today. Chris Childers from SiriusXM is going to stop by and shed a little national college football wisdom. It was a good interview. I wish it could have gone on longer, but a little bit of a time constraint was in there. So we're going to try and get him back over the course of the next few months to continue talking about national college football. Before we get started, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis. You can see that below, and at the Rebel Walk. The videos are online there as well. When we come back after the first break, we're going to tell you a little bit about the Rebel Walk and all the stuff they do. And of course, you can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, YouTube Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for notifications, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll always know when we're going online, and you'll get a notification of exactly what it is, so you can determine whether or not you're interested in it, and nobody's wasting anybody's time. Also on Twitch, Positively Ole Miss. We have our two catch-all channels, Willis Digital Media on YouTube and Willis Digital Media on Twitch. This weekend we put our first video on Willis Digital Media. Basically, it's going to be a 3-part series about basically my experience with an acoustic neuroma, from diagnosis to surgery to recovery. Hopefully that will help people out that have something similar to that. That's the goal of that, because I remember when I got diagnosed, I frantically searched the internet for anything that was close to that. I wanted to hear other experience. I don't want overproduced things that are being sent to us. I wanted to hear what actual people went through. So I'm kind of making one of those now that we're approaching 2 years now from diagnosis. So that is on the Willis Digital Media YouTube and Twitch channel. Now we'll also add to that, we're working on an MLS show. We're working on a bunch of different things that will live on that channel. As the Positively Ole Miss channel will be predominantly Ole Miss based. So that's the difference there, and why there's multiple ones on the internet instead of just like a catch-all going to Positively Ole Miss, because I want Positively Ole Miss just to stick Ole Miss. I want it to be a one-stop shop for people that go to Ole Miss news, great games, interviews, things like that. It's all in one place. I'm just looking at it basically being a catch-all for everything Ole Miss, and then Willis Digital Media will expand from that. We're also thinking about doing reaction shows, Marvel shows, theme park reviews. So it's going to be a neat little catch-all that's not entirely Ole Miss, but all the Ole Miss stuff will be on it as well. We're also on audio You can catch our podcast. Sorry about Friday. We had a little technological hiccup. Lasted a couple days this weekend. We think we have it fixed. But that's the reason no podcast went out Friday. Our pods are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Pandora. We're also on minor podcatchers, but if we listed them, it would take up the whole show. So welcome again to the POMcast on this Monday morning. It is a nice, beautiful day at the Palatial Central Florida studios. I've been here since Thanksgiving, and the dreary day count still sits at 2. So 2 dreary days in 4 months. I mean, it's pretty fantastic. I just love it down here. It's great. Speaking of down here, Ole Miss went down to Gainesville. They dropped 2 of 3. They ended up losing the series. The go-ahead runner was on base at the end of the last game. Florida almost ran out of pitching, but they were able to close it out basically on fumes. At one point, they pitched their shortstop, who had about an 85-mile-an-hour fastball, and it was just whenever he came out of the game, they were just starting to time that up and get it going. But the first game, Gunnar Hoagland pitched relatively well. He wasn't as sharp as he normally is. And the defense behind him kind of let the pitcher down a little bit. I think 3 errors that game. Ford ended up winning 4-1. Low-scoring game, as you would expect with Gunnar Hoagland on the hill pitching for the majority of the game. An 8th-inning 2-run home run really made it 4-1 and extended the lead. And, was problematic. Doug Nikhazy pitched the second game. Is back and forth, going, all the way through until about the 8th inning again, and Ole Miss busted through the 8th and 9th for, I think, 6 runs or something. Ended up winning that game 8-2. Kind of nice to see the bats come along live. Doug was dominant. He was absolutely dominant at what we would expect. And then game 3, Florida hit a home run on Dustin Diamond's last pitch that probably hasn't landed yet. He just unwound on that thing. But they ended up, getting the win. Like I said, Ole Miss had the go-ahead runner on first base, tie runner on second base, and couldn't get it in the 9th inning. They ended up winning the game. Florida did, I think, 6-5 or something like that. Perfect game. Dropped Ole Miss down to 11th. That was a mighty far drop for barely losing the series. And D1, I think, has them at 3rd still because it was a tight series. It was, what you expect in going down to the house of the preseason number 1. And Florida does have some issues. Now, there's not really any way to sugarcoat that, but they are a very good baseball team. And once they get their pitching situated, they're going to be a very dangerous baseball team. Sorry about that. Brain surgery moment. And a very good team. You could tell that by looking at them and just watching them play. The uniform game on day 2 was pretty spectacular. The uniform game on day 3 was pretty good, but Florida wearing the all-white with the curse of Florida, they were just kind of bland. But day 2 was legit. Florida wore the all pinstripes on Friday to go against Ole Miss's Navy jersey. So that kind of, I just do not like pinstripes on pinstripes as I get older. I used to like it, but now pinstripes on pinstripes, it just doesn't really flow for me. And looking at all of that, I mean, you got the blue on the pinstripes. It looked great for Ole Miss on Friday, but all pinstripes is like it's too much. Maybe it was that lone F. I don't know. The Florida Sunday jerseys, it was, like I said, a little bland, but it looked really good. Ole Miss and their powders looked good. But if Florida would break out an orange jersey with gators across the front, I mean, that would be pretty phenomenal. That probably needs to get into their rotation. But they're a pretty good team. Like I said, everything looked good. And, Ole Miss barely, by a whisker, lost that series. Ole Miss did what it had to do. The bare minimum of what it had to do was get one. Do not get swept, but get one on the road. They went 1-2. That puts them on pace still for 18-12 in the SEC. With Florida, the road trip to Florida in the books. Now this weekend it's going to get a little harder. Number 2 Arkansas is coming into town. Ole Miss, the expectation will be win 2. So this could be the first weekend that if Arkansas was to win the series, that Ole Miss would see a minus in their plus-minus. Because currently they're +3 in the 15-15, 2-1 at home, 1-2 on the road thing. So they're +3 at the moment. So that'd be 18-12. But if they can get 2 and get through this game, going to be pretty legit. Arkansas, by the way, was just a whisker from getting swept by Auburn. They won 2 games late by a run, and Auburn won 1. So Arkansas ended up winning the series 2-1, but it so easily could have gone down with Auburn sweeping Arkansas. So that is very, very, very interesting. I think we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Chris Childers will be there to basically let us know what's going on nationally. Stick around.
Only 10% of us get enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of us are overweight or obese.
We spend 6 hours a day in front of a screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us the right start in sports, and we'll never stop.
Learn how at active4life.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with good information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA helped him and my mom get the home they'd always wanted. My grandpa's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one of his battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I followed in their footsteps and served with pride. And now that I'm out of the military, the GI Bill's helping me with school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA has served us all.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. Joining a special guest, Chris Childers of Full Ride of SiriusXM is in the house today. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. It's good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I want to talk a little bit about national football and then transition into Ole Miss, as this is predominantly an Ole Miss show. But moving into the football season with the crowds coming back, what are you most looking forward to?
Live football, being able to be around people and hearing people cheering. And hell, I think, if you're vaccinated, you don't feel bad about giving somebody a high five. Maybe if you're not, you don't care either at this point. It's just going to be fun to feel college football again, to walk into a stadium. Like, the reason I love college football more than the pros is the atmosphere of it. is being on a college campus and walking on that hallowed ground on a fall Saturday, and the leaves are changing, and something so special about it, and it's packed, right? There's buzz. In Oxford, the Grove is alive and it's incredible, and people are tailgating and making incredible food and partying and drinking cocktails and having the time of their lives. It's something they look forward to. That was taken from us. It was stolen from us by the coronavirus. Getting it back, I think tailgate, like just having a burger on a grill is going to be awesome on a college campus. So being around people, sharing our passion for college football, that's what I cannot wait to experience again.
Yeah, and the Grove opening back up is going to be a big deal at Ole Miss, as you can imagine. Who are some of the surprise teams that you're looking for nationally that could break out this year?
Well, the problem is that college football has become sort of so predictable that it's hard to find a surprise team, right? Like when it comes to competing for the big prizes of the national championship, Bama's got it on lockdown, Clemson's got it on lockdown, Ohio State's got it on lockdown. And that's kind of the bummer, right? Like in college basketball, we've seen this incredible tournament, and we always complain in football, like, give us an expanded field so we can open this thing up a little bit, so we don't just have 3 teams plus 1 every year. That's extremely predictable. So I think Bama's going to be there again, even without Mac Jones, a quarterback. Bryce Young should be great. Clemson loses Trevor Lawrence. Doesn't matter. Here comes DJ Uiagalelei. Ohio State, not as clear-cut who's going to take over, but they'll figure it out. I promise you that, and they'll probably be the best team in the Big Ten. So then the question is, is there a 4th team that's going to surprise us? Because Notre Dame was that team a year ago, right? They got in there, had a really good season, etc. I think Georgia is a playoff team this year. And I know they've been really good, but they're kind of lying in the weeds when it comes to being talked about as a national title contender. I thought they found themselves with JT Daniels at the end of last season, and I think their defense is going to be pretty good. They're loaded at wide receiver, including George Pickens. So I think from a national perspective, that's a team that's probably playoff team number 4. As far as teams like middle of the pack, I'm expecting to make a move. Ole Miss is one of them. I think, with Lane Kiffin year 2, non-COVID, or at least we're getting closer past it, I think it's going to be a huge impact year. I think you're going to see a separation in Mississippi. I think, Kiffin's going to be on the uptick, and you're going to see better players come in. I don't feel that with Mike Leach. Neuheisel's been telling me this for years. He said Leach is very predictable, and if you play Chris Peterson's defense against him, you beat him. That's it. Like, look at Washington State. Keep those guys bottled up. You saw what happened week 1. Or not week 1, but after that, after their big offensive performance, keep those guys in front of you. Don't let them get behind you. You beat them. I mean, it's really that simple. So I don't know how sustainable that is. I think what Kiffin's got going on is exciting, and I think what Sam Pittman's got going on in Arkansas is exciting. I mean, that's just, to me, they're going to feel like an SEC football team again, and they've been kind of – out of sorts, ever since the motorcycle accident with Bobby Petrino. They haven't been good. They've been flat out bad. And, Bielema was a mixed experiment, didn't bear a lot of fruit. Morris was a disaster. And I think Pittman's just a football coach. And they're going to get tough. They're going to be rugged again. You saw vast improvement this year. So I think that's a team that I can look for to go from 3 wins to maybe 7 or 8, which would be a massive jump, I think, for Arkansas. But I think those teams, like middle of the pack, the Ole Miss Arkansas, are ones I'm kind of eager to see what they can do. And then there's some other teams that I think are middle of the pack that I think are going to suck. Like Tennessee this year is one of those teams. I know Tennessee fans are hopeful with Josh Heupel. I don't know if Tennessee can win a game. Like, seriously. So they lost a lot of personnel. And they are in a massive transition mode, and they're going to have to be patient with Josh Heupel, because that is just a barren roster right now that's going to take a lot of time to build up, and if they get it done at all. I mean, they're just in disarray. So, but as far as surprise teams, I think, Georgia, as far as a contender to be in the playoff, not that it's a huge surprise, but you know what I mean. And then Arkansas and Ole Miss, I think, take another step.
All right, what's your read on Brian Harsin at Auburn?
I don't like it. I didn't like the hire. I wasn't a fan of it. I think Harson's fine, but you paid $21 million to get rid of a guy that beat Nick Saban 3 times. Like, understand who you are. I know you're capable of winning a national title. You did it under Gene. Malzahn was the offensive coordinator. Cam Newton was a freak. But think about, like, you had to have Superman at quarterback for Auburn to win the title. Not only that, Alabama it's the dominant era we've ever seen in college football, and they're in the same state. And Gus beat them 3 times. So you can say what you want about Gus, but you paid $21 million to get rid of him and hire Brian Harsin, which I think is a gamble. I don't think anything. Now I like his staff. I like what he's built up. Obviously, he's doing it the right way, like Matt Rule did when he went from Temple and got the job at Baylor and didn't know anything about Texas and hired guys that knew what to do. And he went to the Sugar Bowl and parlayed that into $9 million a year with the Carolina Panthers. So it's, he's doing it the right way. But I still look at it as like the Nick Saban reaction. Everybody panics. Everybody, Nick Saban is Mount Everest, and everybody gets a pickaxe and a parka, and they, good luck, and they'll pay you millions of dollars at the beginning of the year to do it. But how many guys fall off the mountain? And I just don't know. Because to me, you're hiring a guy to beat Nick Saban. That's the point of this, right? You're hiring a guy to win the West and to get by Alabama. That's why you got rid of Gus Malzahn. Is Brian Harsin going to do that? I don't feel that he's the guy that's going to do that.
Okay, and Clark Lee at Vandy, obviously, with our boy Barton Simmons calling the shots. What's your take there?
Look, it's really hard. It's hard. But they're doing things. And I think, like, for Clark Lee, had the university not made the announcement they did last week, I think they're screwed. Yeah. Because it's just the same old Vandy. You've been there. I mean, there's no investment. I mean, you look around the rest of the SEC. It's gorgeous. It's state of the art. It's shiny. It's beautiful. And Vanderbilt's stuck in 1978. And there's no way in hell you win in this league and get the players you need to be successful with that kind of stuff. Now, they announced last week the Vandy United, which is a $325 million, I think, campaign is the right number. $325 that they're going to invest in football, basketball, and women's basketball and some other things across the board. Much needed, long overdue. It gives Clark Lee a chance. I think him hiring Barton Simmons was a really good idea because Barton Simmons has so many connections inside the recruiting world. He's been doing this for years. He knows all the high school coaches, all that. So he has ins, and he knows recruiting. He knows who the players are. He knows where they're at. So I think that's going to help Clark Lee. And they go way back. They were buddies in junior high. I think they, stole a bottle of liquor from Clark's mom, back when they were, 18 years old or whatever. So they've known each other for a long time. I just think Vandy had to make a commitment for them to have a chance. Now, do I believe that if Vanderbilt got their stuff together, they could be good? I do. I think the city of Nashville is a great city that's, well, it's great depending on who you talk to, but a lot of people like it. And it's booming every day, and there seems to be 80 to 100 people moving. So that in itself is a sell. You've got a degree as strong as any in this league. Now just invest. And I think with the investment, there's a chance for Vanderbilt to get out of this doldrum era that's existed forever and actually be somewhat competitive. Now, is Clark Lee the guy? I don't know. But at least he's going to have a better chance than any coach has had before him.
Yeah. Yeah, you go way back to Woody Woodenhofer. Vanderbilt's facilities are exactly the same. Nothing has changed. They added an indoor, but that was probably a little off the success of baseball more than anything else. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming by today. We said we'd keep you 10 minutes. We did about 10 minutes. All right. Thank you very much. Hopefully we can do this again. Yeah,
well, anytime. Thanks, Steve. Good to talk to you.
All right. Chris Childers. Full Ride, SiriusXM. I think that comes on at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning on SiriusXM. So look that up. He's quite good at what he does. He's on the air with Rick Neuheisel and always talking college football, especially college sports in particular. So catch up with Chris Childers on Full Ride and SiriusXM. Hey, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes back. Tomorrow we should have another interview lined up for you that's going to be fantastic. Stick around for that. We'll let you know a little bit what's going on whenever that one hits the can as well. But this has been the POMcast. Been a pretty good show, if I say so myself. But we'll see you next time.